off as the first map is finally ready to go. Lee Zhang to start it all off, and it is going to be Grizzlies versus Last Night's Leftovers.
Grizzlies already looking to jump into that high ground where Dogman gets drilled by Graceful, who goes so aggressive to start things off. But remember, and this is what we're talking about, that different tank. They're going to be playing single tank with triple DPS, in-layer tracked and sugar-free. They're going to have a lot of different options to take multiple angles here. Still, though, not a lot of sustain and support to help DCOD if he gets into a troubling situation.
And on the other side, this is the roster to beat right now, seemingly with the 3-0-3 composition here. For Grizzlies will have Evoke already at 82% towards that sound barrier.
And I mean, I'm curious to see if Last Night's Leftovers are going to want to stick to this, because they have, 2 or 3 characters who are going to be very much in danger when it comes to Zepri approaching them. Brigitte could easily deal with this. However, he's back to a corner. Inlayer going right for him. So aggressive into what is known widely as a hard counter to the Tracer. Ajax taken down. Grizzlies have cleaned things up nicely already. And this is where, again, I'm expecting to see some changes, some adjustments to the composition, but so far none have been made.
And potentially just sticking to the composition now that they're building those ultimates. The EMP alone should enable Sugar Free to go in to do the damage he needs on that Genji. However, DCOD is going to be hooked up, and as a result, already with a 6v5 man disadvantage, there's just no space for this roster of Last Night's Leftovers to do anything.
They also don't have anything to really help them force that control, force that spacing to come out so that DCOD, can be assisted in jumping on the point and forcing that flip to happen. And Grizzlies have just been walking right over Last Night's Leftovers with that 1-3-2 comp. Finally, we might see an opportunity here. Dogman helping them engage right away. Transcendence going right through. He gets charged away from the rest of his team. Evoke is still holding on to that sound barrier to answer whatever may come out, and that will be the Dragon Blade from Sugar Free.
And the big thing is the EMP was popped first, and the sound barrier coming out of the other side here for Grizzlies is going to keep everyone safe, and a big advantage, especially with the Earth Shatter connecting. Overtime does kick through, and even though Sugar Free finds one onto Zepri, that seems to be all they get. DCOD dropping extremely low himself, should eventually be pushed back as they continuously look to fight onto the point, but this is what this comp really thrives on here for Grizzly, these prolonged fights where they can really brawl it out. And now even Dogman coming back from spawn, not gonna be successful, and the layer still left alive, but it's a matter of time right now for Grizzlies.
Grizzlies esports dominating with this 3-0-3, and we see that single tank triple DPS comp not quite working out for Last Night's Leftovers. They do not get much of anything accomplished in that last map. And we talked about how, that can be an interesting dynamic. Unfortunately, things like that can be shut down, and that's exactly what we saw. Now, are they going to be sticking to this, or are they going to be going with, a Pharah, bringing in a second tank? There's a ton of things that they could do. The question is are they going to actually go for it?
They seem to be sticking to this triple DPS composition, and this is exactly what we've seen out of them in the Beat Invitational. Now, they will be up against something different, though, from coming out of Grizzlies. They will be going for a dive comp themselves with Spirit on that Pharah. So at the very least, track, if he can really recreate the success he had on that hero with Widowmaker that he had all the way back in Contenders EU, should be looking potentially good for the rest of his team, but it's still going to be very difficult.
And I'm still curious about, why they feel so confident about this 1-3-2 DCOD. Again, just unprotected without that D.Va to back him up, and Spirit easily finds that kill. And the control that we see out of the Grizzlies side is just so overwhelming. I mean, Last Night's Leftovers has really been unable to really contest efficiently throughout this entire time.
But finally, they do secure one kill onto Pei. We'll be looking for more. In the meantime, the Graceful was on Widowmaker duty, manages to find one himself, but it seems like finally Last Night's Leftovers step it up and step up to the occasion day 2, as they will secure those kills and potentially the point.
There we go, coming together, finally getting it done as they're looking to find these last kills. They seemingly will get them. As the Tracer pulls out, control will go over to Last Night's Leftovers, and they get their first points on the board now. Again, sticking to that 1-3-2. And now they have an ability to set up and really kind of play off of Dogman and Track to put some damage out. Spacing going to come from Decod and Sugar Free, as they're likely going to be a little bit more aggressive.
And now Wet Spirit going onto the Genji himself will look to have the release contest. Trackman's gonna be the blade coming out in the layer, popping that down barrier as a response. And with Dogman going in with the Transcendent, she'll look to potentially stabilize things in favor of this team. But so far, it's still interesting back and forth. Zapri finds him off of it, and now we'll see Grizzlies potentially getting the point back.
And they quickly flip it back in their favor. Track gonna fly off a little bit there, and he's going to go down as Pei lays into both Track and Inlayer, finding those last 2 kills. And we see a different approach to the way that we're seeing this Genji being played by Sugar Free because of the fact that there's no Diva in play. Sugar Free's kind of playing it in order to, utilize his deflect to help Decod get out of situations where he's creating space for Track, and then going ahead and engaging himself as well to allow him to kind of pull back and then re-engage with more help.
Oh, and Graceful actually gets Dogman off of it, forces the rest of this last night's leftovers roster in a tough spot. And with these final few kills, even though Endelayer manages to find one himself, this is still looking dire for last night's leftovers, potentially going out 2-0 right now on Lijiang.
Spirit holding on to that blade as well. Still no swaps to a Brigitte. Want to mention that could be something that, could help both teams at this stage be able to deal with these flankers, the threats on these separate angles, and even sometimes like right in the thick of things. But now we see Track making a swap off of the Widow, going over to the Pharah now, and then Inlayer trying to open things up, but hasn't gotten what he wanted yet.
Spirit though popping that blade, we'll be looking for those targets instead, and the big problem right now for LNL is the fact that they are going to go into overtime. This is where they need to step it up. Already under a lot of pressure. Track though being a huge difference on that Pharah, does manage to find a kill, still not out of it just yet. And finally, last night's leftovers, especially with Sugar Free's blade, will manage to find the kills and the point back in their favor. But this is gonna be a Herculean task for sure.
A lot better this time, and also coming away with both of your support ults. Gonna be necessary in this fight because you want to be able to draw this one out now. Want to be able to really kind of string this fight out as long as you possibly can, and having both of those is going to certainly, boost that ability for sure. Now as they go forward, you're going to want to see some aggression out of Grizzlies Esports. They're not going to really have many options for that, but backed up by a sound barrier, they might be able to get in there and find some kills. Not to start things off, as Graceful's low, Zapri's already gone, and it's going to be LNL cleaning things up, and they didn't have to use their Transcendence.
But they did commit both the Primal Rage as well as the Valkyrie, so still a little bit of, in terms of that ult economy rather, going ever so slightly equal on both fronts. Now that Evokid does have that sound barrier readied up, we'll see Zapper still look for that pair up in the skies. This Track does have the Rocket Barrage available, but considering the 89% now on the point here for LNL, they have a good shot at potentially equalizing this one to 1-1.
Oh, Voke under pressure. Track holding on to that barrage, but this is a good timing now as we're seeing that come down. Graceful is going to be able to take a lot of that out and not be able to turn that damage back. Self-destruct to reset as Decod falls, so does Pei. Both main tanks out of the equation as Inlayer falls as well, and you see some pressure onto Dogman. Zapri was so quick with that one alongside Graceful, and Sugar Free now in the sky, back onto the point, trying to keep this dream alive for his team. Overtime will tick as Track now goes onto the point. Zapri cleans him up as well, and that will be Grizzlies overtime, slowly taking this one away as last night's leftovers does not want to give up just yet.
Decod with that Primal Rage is still pushing the opposition around. Pulse Bomb coming through, unable to find those kills. In return, though, Zapri has an even better one up his sleeve. And with it will be Grizzlies securing the first map win of the series.
And what we saw there was Inlayer unable to get back onto the point. That overtime just ticked down so fast. It was so hard to be able to get back onto that point. Play the game going over to Pei here. And he is going to be able to, I believe this is when he Primal Rage, and that's exactly the case as Track flew off the side there. And he continued forward, he took the Tracer out as well. But Grizzlies Esports able to take that first map, last night's leftovers with that 1-3-2. Again, a very kind of different dynamic, something we haven't seen much of yet. And, just not panning out for them this time around.
It did look ever so slightly better on that second round, but as you said, not quite what they needed in order to pull out the win. And on the other side, of course, for Grizzly Sports, very well played. Or rather, they do manage to secure that first map win into the series. Remember, it is a best of 5, and it being a double elimination format, the team to go out here will not be out of the tournament. But we will be right back with Numbani. Coming up next, it will be Numbani, and now that we have seen Grizzlies definitely having the edge in this matchup, we'll look to see what last night's leftovers answers will be, because so far, at the very least with that particular roster, since they have 8 players to choose from, not quite what they need, it seems.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that we might see a little bit more diva this time around. And I'm also thinking that it's going to be kind of necessary in this situation. You really need some protection for your Winston. I would say in some of these cases, it has gone the way of, Decod falling because he doesn't have that extra protection. Again, I do want to mention that they did kind of alter the way that they utilize that composition, especially with the way that they play the Genji, where he tries to kind of help him out a little bit. But the fact of the matter is defense matrix is defense matrix. You can't, there's no substitute. There's just none. You have to have that in there if you want to be able to play that efficiently. But the question is, again, are they going to do that, or are they going to continue doing these different kind of looks where it's without these second tanks, it's without the standard that we've kind of grown to know and understand over the last year, 2 years.
And even when it comes to the defense, I'm very curious to see what we'll have in the North American side of things, because on EU, we've seen teams run that dive style composition. We've seen teams play really well around that Orisa setup, both on the high ground as well as low around the corners. So what will be in question right here? We could see more of Pharah so far. Spirit has had mixed results, I'd say, but I'm excited to find out soon as the map is ready. Both teams indigo and blue. Of course, it is going to be Grizzlies once again coming up versus last night's leftovers on the offense. And as we will see, NLayer actually going for the Sombra. Very peculiar comp coming out of this lineup. We'll see if it pays off as they will look to dive right in. So far, no kills on either side. Sugar-Free instantly discorded, however, will be forced to disengage, and he will be the first one to fall.
Spirit going forward as well, landing these rockets like crazy, so consistent there. And Decod, we do see them having that extra little peel ability from Nex on the Diva, but not get a little tactical crouch thing there. Not sure if we got that, but we'll avoid it anyways. But Grizzlies now taking that fight cleanly the first time around. Spirit pulling back. Grizzlies has found a way to become very safe here, and you can see already how Ding has pulled his way back to the low ground to just be further away from what could be, you know, a very aggressive Genji player in Sugar-Free.
Very interesting to see how the substitute in Brigitte instead of something like a Lucy or Moira will play out. As so far, Sugar-Free is going to be dropping pretty low. So many ultimates soon enough available for the defense though. Dogman is going to fall. Zafri though gets taken out. However, the rocket barrage is going to be there. Even Ding pulling out the Transcendence to make sure the opposition doesn't even get one single tick. But at the very least, for last night's leftovers, moving forward, they will have a lot in terms of that ult economy advantage.
It's so interesting to see how much last night's leftovers enjoys running that Sombra. I mean, time and time again, we see them picking it up, whether it be in control or even now on a hybrid map, and we can see them with a lot of ultimates stacked up, looking for the blade, and there it goes, followed up by the EMP. They're cleaning things up, looking for more now as they unleash almost everything in their arsenal.
But they need to secure that point. So far, no ticks achieved. Ding did manage to find one kill in that particular engage, and as Zapri gets Sugar-Free as well, things are not going to be as easy here for the offensive side, but not giving up just yet. Ajax will have that Resurrect available. No ticks yet on the board as Pei is back on top. Does have the Prime Lord if he wishes to stall things further, and so far with this prolonged team fight, we might still see them build up even more ultimates here for last night's leftovers.
Well, Zapri on this Tracer has gone unchecked. The stick comes out, almost gets Dogman there as he was sticking a little close to Nex, but that damage was mitigated, and I'm not sure. Last night's leftovers looks like they will be able to hold this one as the Diva loses its mech. Graceful dies off, and with about a minute on the clock, last night's leftovers should take this one.
It's still delaying things here, reducing Zafri being an absolute nuisance, but interested to note, Spirit, while he did make the swap to the McCree, will be going back onto the Pharah, looking to just deal with this interesting comp once again, coming out of last night's leftovers. So far, they do have quite a bit of ultimates building up once again with that, or rather through that prolonged team fight. With the EMP and Blade paired up once more, it could definitely enable them another team fight win. There it is.
Oh, and Lair with the EMP. This has set things up so nicely for them for the second time now as they efficiently mop up Grizzlies. And now they're going to have to go in for the third try as they lost that one as well. Now, both support ults, we're seeing some adaptation coming through as Zapri is going to be swapping off of what was a stellar Tracer as he's forced to play that Brigitte to better deal with, I guess, the Sombra and the Genji right now.
Ooh, and then the Lair definitely being an absolute monster right now, seemingly on that Sombra, will force that Resurrect out of Evoke, so one less resource to work with here for this side of Grizzlies will make things more difficult to contest the second point, but now Self-Destruct being launched through, can it find the kills? It does onto Spirit, and now with Sugar-Free pulling out the Blade, he gets the kill onto Evoke, who was a bit too far away from that Transcendence. He does go down in the end, but the numbers advantage in definite favor of last night's leftovers.
They have the staying power, rally at the ready as well if they need it. They won't though. They will take this point. Last night's leftovers have really rallied so far after that first point take. And I would say, I think it's crazy actually how well this is working at the moment and how they've been able to really kind of put a damper on Grizzlies' defense. But this is that change that we've been kind of waiting on. As they switch to the 3-0-3, the Sombra is still in play.
But this could still work really well for last night's leftovers, especially now that the EMP is at the ready. It's quite a few of those targets. Zinga's going to be the first one to fall. He was unable to shift, and now going in for more hacks pay will have no fun on that Reinhardt allowed whatsoever, especially with the Dogman still on the board with those kills. And look at that, the blade is still at the ready. Decod dropping extremely low, will manage to stay alive, and a lot of distance should be able to be covered here for LNL.
Now we wonder, when the EMP isn't ready, do they still have that same level of potency in these team fights? Can they still shut down this tank-heavy composition with 3 supports to back them up? Self-destruct jumping up into the air just as Sugarfree does with the blade. He finds one himself as the self-destruct did claim Evokia's life. And somehow we do see, oh, what an Earth Shatter to shut down Sugarfree.
Gets 3 down on the ground, and as a result, we will still see the rally coming through, and the layer actually being brought back up with the Resurrect. But is it too late at this point, considering the defense strongly rallying up? Will be able to stabilize for now, but still really well push, or really good push rather, coming out of LNL in the grand scheme of things.
Grizzlies definitely got that momentum shift off the Earth Shatter, helped them shut down Sugarfree, put some damage as well into the front line, particularly Next there, who was then followed up by as well. But as they start building up these ultimates, this really starts increasing their power because they can start using this. And Enlair dropping the EMP, he's low. He's gonna get some heals still though, as everybody gets caught now into the Graviton. Rather, I think only one person from Spirit, but he did manage to get Sugarfree. Enlair still on the sidelines here, still dishing out some damage. Has his hat coming up in 3 seconds. Who is he gonna go for? I'm not sure. Looks like the Diva might be an option as he's gonna pull out. I don't think they have any chance in staying in this one. They need to pull out of this fight. Make sure that they have enough opportunities to finish this map.
Especially since Zappery did have that rally available, reinforcing the rest of his team with that armor is going to make things that much more difficult. And considering how much last night's leftovers committed for that previous team fight, they will have a few swaps. Dogman previously did make the change over to that Zenyatta, would be able to potentially, off of the MP, secure some kills with that Discord, but now we'll see whether or not it's going to pay off, as in a layer with that aerial damage potential will be a big nuisance. Sugarfree though finds that first kill.
And Enlair going up top on the Pharah, looking for anything at this point as Spirit does drop the Graviton Surge. He catches a couple people in it, but they're not going to be killed off immediately. Graceful coming together with the D-Mech as well. Grizzlies Esports should be able to back them off. There's not too much left as Decod falls, certainly reinforcing that fact. Dogman gonna get dropped as well. I'm not sure if Pei needed to do that, but still with 5 seconds on the clock, time winding down, last night's leftovers, I don't think have the firepower to stay in this one.
And as overtime will take through one final member desperately trying to make it in there. It's going to be Sugarfree offering the sides on that Tracer, but again, with only his lonesome self on that payload, it does mean that Decod is going to be the one to who was able to delay things even further in the layer. Back on the Sombra, will sneak himself right back in. Even Dogman coming back from spawn with that Transcendence will be waving peacefully for now till his inevitable demise, and Next does not make it back in time, and as a result, we will see Grizzlies hold out right before that final objective.
Still not a bad push, especially when you consider how well Grizzlies was, looking, or how good they were looking on that first point. Now we see them still look at a stage where they're up 1-0. They're able to make the stop before that final checkpoint, so Grizzlies could, turn around and make this a pretty swift 2-0 if their attack comes together the way that I'm sure that they want it to. Now, defensively, it seems as though it's going to be a 2-2-2 from last night's leftovers. We have to see if they want to stick with that or not, but I think they did look a lot better when they did have Next in this roster playing actively on that D.Va. That's when things really kind of came together, in my opinion. That we saw a lot of different looks from them regardless, though. Dogman on the Brigitte, Dogman on the Zenyatta as well. Enlair played a bunch of different stuff. We even saw him closing things out a little bit on the Pharah. Sugarfree has now shown us 3 or 4 different heroes. So these guys are very versatile in their selections. Now it's about actually making sure that they get a map win,
because they need to start making it happen. If you're gonna already be at match point here for Grizzlies, if they lose Nimbani, that is not a spot you want to be in. But now that they will be swapping sides, as said, they're gonna stick to this composition. They've been pretty much the only comp that I can recall that did go for this double support in Brigitte, as well as Mercy. And now with that Junkrat in this composition, it should have somewhat of an easier time to deal with either a tank-heavy lineup, but also a dive comp.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that could be, you know, spotted as a possible issue with the way that, you know, these two healers are going to be combined and played together, because, you know, once you take out that Mercy, and Mercy is one of those heroes that is able to be jumped on by a dive comp, and look what we're actually getting out of Grizzlies. They're going to be going with Genji Tracer and having the Winston Diva up front as well. If they find that Mercy quickly, Dogman's not going to be enough.
So far, already fighting on that high ground. It's going to be next right up in their faces. Will be able to contest for now. The rest of Grizzlies, though, looking to collapse potentially on top of that objective. Just force Decod and the rest of his crew to go ahead and fight this one out, as he will be dropping pretty low. However, no one falling just yet. We'll see a lot of low health bars, though, for this defensive side, but it's going to be Zapper who picks up the first kill. However, will be getting punished in return, and Ajax does manage to pull off the res.
So with that res, they should be able to turn this around. We do see the self-destruct going up right now. Won't find anything, and Sugar Free, along with Ajax, might have saved this one. Still one tick, though, for Grizzlies, as they managed to kind of sneak that one out, as Decod was forced to pull back up. And, you know, remember, in this situation, there's no one that can really get in there and really kind of keep some steady healing onto Decod. So he's going to be forced to go back up to the high ground, up to Ajax, where Ajax can actually heal him, unless Ajax wants to pull down and be more aggressive with his positioning. And I don't know, he could be caught off guard there.
We'll see now another adaptation coming out of the side of Grizzlies, as Spirit and Evoke are now back onto the Pharah Mercy combo. However, the pulse bomb is going to be effective. Coming out of NLA has been also deadly on their Tracer, secures a double kill for his team, and with it, potentially the team fight, especially since that Valk was available. Decod is back in action and now instantly going to be jumping back into the enemy backline.
So things quickly looking a lot different. Spirit, ooh, getting away this time. But a solid defense so far from last night's leftovers, as Zapri makes the swap over to the Widow, looking to shut these guys down from a different angle. A different route being taken now by Grizzlies Esports, and some pressure surely to follow from this Widow pick.
But considering the fact that they still have that Riptire up and ready to go, we'll see whether or not Dinga's going to be trigger happy on that Transcendence that can really solidify a team fight win for their offensive push, as so far it is going to be the Riptire coming out. However, it's going to be in the layer with the first kill. He actually finds Spirit.
In the skies, the Pharah falls to the tire. And that's going to be quick and easy for last night's leftovers, as they find those last couple of kills. A couple members of Grizzlies jumped off as well, but 120 on the clock now. Still holding on to just that first tick. Not a lot of time to work with here. And you have to wonder, is Grizzlies going to be able to pull it together?
They need to start making it, or rather start making things happen right now. They do have the ultimates, they do have those resources, but on the other side, considering how effective the rest of that team was, especially in the layer of that Tracer, we'll look to see whether or not he can keep it up. But it's going to be Spirit actually finding him in this engage.
Oh, and he's in such a good position to deal with this right now too, and there's the barrage to come out as well. Dex did find 2 kills, and maybe that will signal an opportunity, a chance for last night's leftovers to keep this ball rolling. 40 seconds on the clock as Dogman is still alive, still supporting Pei, as they have great spacing in this fight, sending Pei back. And I believe that they have done it. Only 30 seconds, one more opportunity for Grizzlies, and only the Valkyrie to show in this next engagement. I don't know if Grizzlies Esports has the weapons, the artillery in their arsenal to pull this out.
Is Thing gonna be the big factor here, now making this upward to Diana? It's gonna be the Riptire instantly sniped by Spirit off of the sky. That is gonna be looking good for the Bud. The pulse bomb, they've come through out of and the layer. We'll look to dish out that damage. Spirit already dropping pretty low, contested even by Decod up there. But Dogman managing to survive. Will look to help the rest of his team stay afloat on this objective.
Oh, Pei up top trying to stay alive. turning his face just to try to get away from the headshots. There's the stick. Inlair has been popping off on this Tracer Dogman, holding things together as well for his team alongside Ajax, who has somehow managed to stay alive. And not only that, but also find reses in this fight. And Ting, there's no way that he can do this. Last night's leftovers have evened the score.
And what an impressive fashion at that. Not only coming up with superior play in terms of that defense, bringing out something a little more unexpected even now, and the layer with the debate here, having that, or rather those valuable EMPs to set up so many team fights really for last night's leftovers.
We are also going to be moving into our next map that is going to be Hanamura. I mean, we've seen, again, a lot of different styles. Last night's leftovers definitely kind of showing us something a little bit different. I'm not sure what to expect, but don't go anywhere, guys, because when we come back, we will have that third map. Things tied up 1-1. We'll see how things continue moving forward.
We have a series on our hands. Now it's set up 1-1. At the very least, here we'll have an escort map.
Yeah, so we will have that opportunity to see that as well. Excited about that, especially with, these two teams, the way that they're competing. I'm looking forward to seeing more, especially, I think, from last night's Leftovers, because they're doing something different, and that's very refreshing, I would say. Yes, these two teams are indeed very dynamic, even with where they're from as well. A lot of jokes being made in the chat. We see them as well. But, still, I'm definitely looking at, what compositions they're pulling out and if they're working, and on top of that, what they're working against, because they have been pulling out a couple of different styles that have worked against a lot of different things, and we've seen some adaptations being made by Grizzlies that in some cases just haven't worked.
And the interesting thing also was, to that point, the fact that they played Sombra so many times already, whereas we said, okay, probably on the Salt. They already played it on the other two different maps. Are they going to play it here too?
I would say probably not, if I'm guessing. It's as far as we know, though, they absolutely could. It's a question that I don't think anybody could answer other than last night's Leftovers. This time, though, they are not. They are going to be instead running the Hanzo along with the Junkrat, playing up top here with the Orisa as well. And coming into this, it's the 3-0-3 comp being displayed by Grizzly to start off this map.
And already looking to displace the opposition. We'll look to see whether or not Sugar Free or Layer can really charge up those ultimates. That's going to be the big thing here to look out for. But so many big HP targets to really dish out that damage and make sure that is going to be the case. But so far, we'll see this lineup of Grizzlies staying safe up top.
And Layer right now as well, making sure that they have the vision of when they're falling down, and they do just that, right onto the point, looking for control. LNL forced to back off a little bit, and they're starting to get these ticks already.
Already one on the board, but this is where we might see the danger come through, as Layer does have the Dragon Strike, actually using the Storm Arrows to secure the first blood onto Pei. Now looking for more. The Dragon Strike goes a bit wide, but it did split off that team, and as a result, Grizzlies will be falling one by one, even committing the Coalescence, but is it going to be enough, especially since Zapri is going to go down. Dink picks up one late kill onto that Hanzo, but that seems to be it.
Still not a bad push, though. They managed to get 2 ticks, 75.3%, that final percentage that they came away with. And now when they re-engage, they would obviously love to have the Coalescence to help them in this situation, but Dink can get that up rather quickly. We've already seen, the effect of the Moira in this situation where she can get that up quickly, but still, two ticks already on the board for them. They can come back in, assert their dominance, start getting control early on, and maybe kind of sneak this third one out.
I'm gonna look at Sugar Free to see what he's gonna be able to do with this Riptire, because one big kill here could be the deciding factor. It's gonna be the D-suit onto Graceful, and without that Matrix coming into play, it's definitely gonna give an edge here for last night's Leftovers, because the Dragon Strike is at the ready.
Yeah, and he wants to hold this too, because he doesn't want to kill them all right now. He wants to take more time off the clock, because you give too many opportunities to Grizzlies and they'll be able to take this map. He still has tons of damage. Zapri going to come through and take Inlayer out completely, so that Hanzo is gone now. Now it's up to the rest of this team. Can they pull it together? There is the Earth Shatter as the res comes out onto Inlayer. Decod will indeed fall, and now this whole line has fallen apart. Now they can push through. Grizzlies will find these kills. They will secure this point and move on to point B, where they do not have much of any kind of option with their ultimates, and several coming together for last night's Leftovers to be able to defend.
And I like the adaptation as well. Once again, this change coming out of Layer and Decon now into the Winston alongside the Pharah, just like you said. Maybe we will actually even see Sugar Free make a swap himself after he gets the Riptire, but on the other end, we will look to see whether or not Spirit can really be the big deciding factor. It's going to be Graceful actually launching up high. It's going to catch one, but it is a 1-for-1 trade.
Oh, Sugar Free somehow managing to get away here. Has the Riptire. Will not find the kill, as it's superbly blocked out by Spirit. And they're still on this point. He gets trapped. He's going to get taken down possibly, but they're still healing there. Enlayer does find that rocket to Spirit's body, and they find that kill. Zapri will have to leave now, and they do make the defend as they back them out. But here's the thing. Coming back into this fight, we're seeing a little bit of an adjustment. We're seeing Zapri still obviously on that Tracer. Spirit now onto the McCree, so now going over to a 2-2-2, but a combination of tanks and a combination of healers you don't often see with this pairing.
And interestingly enough, too, this is something we've seen a bunch of in the second season of the Pit Invitational. Ajax on that Ana, especially on Hanamura, just set up down low, looking to heal the rest of his teammates, be it on high ground or just wherever they're split off. But it's going to be Graceful already looking for an angle, unable to find too much. Deacon is going to be the first one to fall as the Tracer was lying in wait there for Zapri.
Oh, there's the barrage coming out as well. Pei gonna fall to that one, but Enlair will sacrifice his body for that. Still, they're hanging. Oh, next! Finding two with that self-destruct. Once again, I think he has been the hero for this team to be able to turn away Grizzlies one more time.
Not only did he get a huge self-destruct right there, he also ate the pulse spawn before it. So far, next on point, and definitely, as you said, the hero for this team, seemingly. It seems like when they do have him on this roster, it's when it really enabled the rest of the team to really come well together.
Spirit getting kind of dangerously close to this Deadeye. If they allow him to have this high ground and get off that Deadeye, he could find a lot of value in it, especially if he's protected. And now that Graceful has been on this D.Va, he could provide that protection that's going to be necessary. However, look at this combo. Decod going up with that nano boost, that could easily jump in the face of Spirit and disallow for him from being able to pull that off.
Ooh, but it's gonna be the Transcendence popped first. Graceful, first one to fall. Sugarfree on that Genji this time around. Did get the D-suit off, and at this point just looking to push them away. Look to waste as much time as possible. Already only 2 minutes and 25 seconds left, and the layer now, the Widowmaker having the sidelines. Does get the kill onto Spirit. Dogman, fortunate position to be in, will be taken out by Ding, and that might signal the offensive side of Grizzlies to push forward.
Now that they go back in, still have to look at that Deadeye. They still have the nano boost. It goes out onto Decod as they go forward, trying to find something. The Deadeye comes out. He sees Sugarfree, but the deflect comes out as well. They push off the self-destruct, still not finding anything. And after using what they had available, they have not found a way in yet.
Pei instantly getting taken down. Decod as well. Sugarfree was there on point, and the Blade might follow soon enough. Dogman, though, taking a big kill himself onto that Mercy. Means that the staying power in terms of this team fight will be greatly less than a year for the attacking side of Grizzlies. Now, pulling out of that one with a Blade still available for Sugarfree will be big moving on forward.
1:27 on the clock. Grizzlies Esports just not clicking the same way we saw in Control. I mean, last night's Leftovers has done so much to shore up some of the problems that we saw on Control, where now, you know, they're looking a lot better. They're looking a lot, you know, more cohesive in these situations where they have time to get their setups. You know, they're working well together with their DPS as well. And I think a big thing, a big factor as well is Nex being in here on this D.Va.
But also, NLA are just able to swap constantly now onto the Tracer. We'll see if he can keep that performance up. So far, been absolutely stellar. But the Blade asset is ready for Sugarfree. And the longer they delay this, the better it's going to be for last night's Leftovers here. We'll have to see Grizzlies just all-out aggression coming out of them.
And I like how, you know, Endler was able to force the turn from Zapri, so they couldn't engage, they couldn't keep that pressure on Sugarfree, so it kind of bailed him out of that one.
I will be forced to use that recall, but the nano boosted Blade is out there ready, and Sugarfree is out for blood. Catches one onto Spirit, forces out the Transcendence, but with all of those ultimates already used and the man disadvantage for the attacking side of Grizzlies means that this is going to be a tough one for them. Pei already down and out, and the layer picks up another. Spirit still trying to do something here, but even with that Storm Arrow claiming a kill, it's not going to amount to anything. 4 seconds left, nobody in near sight of that objective, and we will see no ticks achieved, only 1 point on the board for Grizzlies.
After losing that last map, things are not looking good right now in dire straits for Grizzlies. Last night's Leftovers have an opportunity to take the lead in this match right here and right now if they can secure 33% towards point B. Oftentimes that does happen, so you have to think, you know, the outlook is good right now for last night's Leftovers.
But I'm curious to see what their approach is going to be when it comes to their attacking side. On defense so far, it's been a lot of focus on those tanks, right? A lot of play coming out of course, Graceful should be playing on that D.Va or potentially Zarya, but overall, even though they swapped to those other DPS, hit scan DPS, or double sniper comps, they just haven't seemed to found too much success.
So this is interesting. What we're having lined up in front of us right now is last night's Leftovers, a team that has built itself up so far in this series, in this season of Pit, I would say, as a team that shows us a lot of, unique compositions, a lot of unique different styles to play and execute certain characters together. Going forward with the 3-0-3 for now, although we'll have to see if they wind up sticking with that. It looks like maybe we might see some swap-ups, but they're going to be going into a different style 3-0-3 that we haven't really seen so far. They're going to be bringing out the Ana and the Zenyatta to be the healers alongside the Brigitte, which is very unique. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen yet. We have seen Ana, we have seen Zenyatta, but not together. And it's interesting because the Ana should be able to, kind of deny some of the healing here. We're going to be seeing the Zenyatta able to put out discords, maybe help them rip, some tanks down quicker. But if it's going to work out, I'm not sure, because obviously healing advantage definitely goes to last night's Leftovers.
And we'll see them stick to that 3-0-3 composition as we talked about previously. Now looking to set up towards that choke. We'll have Grizzlies looking to move on forward, but it's gonna be the rest of last night's Leftovers charging in so far, looking for blood onto Pei, who was able to stay alive. Decod now finally out of effect of that Bionic, but it's gonna be Grizzlies picking up first blood.
And you notice that Evoke and Ding are both so safe in this situation. I don't think either of them has taken any damage at all, and because of that, they're just getting off so much healing. They're finding a lot of value with those picks right now. We're going to have to see an adjustment from last night's Leftovers to put some pressure onto that back line. Find Evoke, find Ding in the back line, and put some pressure onto them. Maybe even find some kills in that way so that you can unlock this first objective.
But armor is already available. It's going to make things that much more difficult. And I'm curious to see if the target of that mana boost will be indeed Pei for this lineup of Grizzlies, as we will have our second fight go through. The Graviton should be available for Spirit first. But Bionate does connect. The Earth Shatter does as well. And as a result, the Graviton is just going to secure all the kills here for Grizzlies. But 3 ultimates committed for it.
It's just so difficult to get into that backline once they start getting those ultimates together, once they start, collecting them right now, and you see Nex getting body blocked, so much time now being taken away as they're going to have to wait for him to come on back. And finally, he does go off the side. 2:20 on the clock. You got that respawn timer still that you have to worry about. But going into this next fight, you have the Graviton. You have the Earth Shatter. You have a lot of options. Nex is at 90% towards his self-destruct to throw on top of it as well, but still you have to find a way into the backline. You have to force some pressure onto Ding, who's holding onto a Transcendence.
And the Graviton's gonna be pivotal, because if you're out of that option, that could be dangerous. But now, Earthshare connecting onto 2 important targets, gonna take Zapri out of the picture, but the Layer goes down as well. Self-destruct coming through, finds 1 kill onto Nex, and as a result, things still potentially looking good for the defensive side, but Town Bear was popped. 1 tick achieved for this lineup of last night's Leftovers, and as Decod finds another kill onto Pei, things are still going back and forth.
Oh, Spirit dying with Graviton Surge, although it looks like they might be able to pull this off, because again, not enough pressure onto this backline. Evoke is still pushing it out. What a sleep dart from Evoke as he finds the Reinhardt. Still hanging on as Pei will come back from respawn very shortly as well. And there's the Earth Shatter to thrust him onto the ground. Next we'll find a kill with the self-destruct. Last night's Leftovers might be finally taking this one as Pei comes back in. He will be taken out of the equation right after using his Earth Shatter and maybe helping them get some kills, but still so much protection from Nex on this D.Va.
And Spirit, as well as Ding, do have their ultimates available, but coming back from spawn, they're just gonna go for the reset instead and make sure they try their best to make sure that 33.3% is not achieved on the second point, because that is all last night's Leftovers need to get a lead in the series.
You have to wonder if maybe Spirit had been able to throw down that Graviton Surge into the corner. He might have been able to, get away a little bit, still provide some damage with that alternate fire, and not take as much pressure, because they would have been on the other side of that wall, inside of the point, if he threw the Graviton there. So I'm not sure how that would have worked out, if they had the firepower to even really get much value out of it, but either way, he's holding on to it, so he still has it available in this next fight. Ding holding on to the Transcendence as well. They should be able to hold this fight, at least this one here.
especially with that graph not connecting up to a bunch of those members. Graceful is going to open it up with a double kill for himself. In the meantime, though, Ding did go out in the background. However, it's all about Grizzlies as they will get this team fight win. But as said, considering the time left on the clock here for last night's leftovers, they should be looking poised to get this potential win.
And Inlayer going to make a swap. He's going to go over to Pharah. We mentioned, just before this, how he does pick a lot of different heroes. He is very flexible in his hero choice. We've already seen a ton of different looks. This time we're going to get the Pharah to come back in, and Sugar Free again on that Genji. He's going to be taken out, though, by Zafri just to start off. That's going to force the res out from Ajax. And you just don't see a lot of Genji, but Sugar Free has, been pulling it out quite a lot so far today.
Even Spirit trying his hand right now at that particular hero. However, Ding still holding on to that Transcendence, and the layer, even having the threat of that Ana in the background, makes things so difficult for this Pharah. We'll see. For now, at the very least, Grizzly still holding out, still wasting time, and the more important thing for them is the fact that they still didn't have to use that Transcendence.
And here's another look from Inlayer. He's going to be pulling out the Widow. They're trying to shut down Zapri and Evokia, I think, in the back line because, again, they still have that trouble of dealing with those two supports, and now even Zapri involved as well.
And we'll see whether or not he's going to find that success, because at this point, they are slowly but surely running out of time. And we'll see a potential draw, but so far, we'll have them try to collapse on top of the point. Sugar Free looking for this target. It's going to be Ding first to go down. A big target.
Oh, there's the blade as well. He gets purpled, though. Needs to find the second hit. Does indeed. Sugar Free swiping through the defenses of Grizzlies as he will find, almost getting that Diva out of suit as well. Last night's leftovers might be able to pull this out as they're looking for that Diva back. They find it as well. Grizzlies Esports, I don't know if they can get back in here, but here's the blade.
It needs to make it work so far. Looking desperately for this target. He finds two. Can he find more? Is that enough for Grizzly Esports to stall in long in time? But no. So far it seems like Dogman is brought back into action. Ajax having that Valkyrie still available. Kills favoring the side of last night's leftovers. Getting oh so close to that first cap. And that is once again all they need to secure the map win. Next with another kill onto Graceful. It's going to be dire attempt coming out of Grizzlies.
Oh, Ding needs to come back into this, but he's so low. Sugar Free will find it with the Swift Strike. They need to get ultimates to turn this fight, and they didn't find any. And because of that, last night's leftovers take the lead for the first time in the series.
And now being up 2-1, moving into Dorado, all looking overall better and better. Last night's leftovers, even though it took them a while to join, it seems like those leftovers might have had a little bit of effect on them at the start, but right now, definitely looking very hot.
Yeah, just recovering from the last leftovers that they had last night. Finally feeling like themselves, looking a lot better. I definitely think, bringing Nex in, having that Diva back in play certainly helped them a little bit as well. But moving into Dorado, I'm curious to see, with what we've seen already out of that map, are they going to be going, for some more 303? Again, a very different look from the opposition. Grizzlies pulling out something that was actually kind of solid, I think, in the form of the Zenyatta and the Ana being brought in as two of the healers alongside the Brigitte.
It definitely worked wonders for them at the start, but as the fight continued on, of course, having that respawn advantage on the attacking side, eventually that collapsed into itself and didn't quite work out in the end for them. But on Dorado, this once again, I expect to see a lot of adaptations from both teams, a lot of swapping around from that Pharah to the Widowmaker, from the Widowmaker, again, to Dive potentially. It's going to leave out a bunch of options.
Yeah, and don't go anywhere, guys. We'll have Dorado coming on the other side of this short break.
Now we're back at match point in favor of last night's leftovers. Looking stronger and stronger. Moving on to Dorado. Grizzly Esports really need to step things up themselves.
Yeah, they absolutely have to. They have to find a way to get back into this series because things have kind of slowly slipped out of their hands, I think, at this stage. Now, pushing into this next map, we've seen a lot of different stuff. We've seen snipers come into play, both Hanzo and the Widowmaker. We've also seen some 303 being brought in. We've seen, specifically from these teams, a lot of unique stuff. And I'm kind of hoping that this goes the way of Grizzlies, only because I'm hoping to see more maps. I'm hoping to see more, kind of variety, I guess, from these teams because we haven't seen it as much yet throughout this tournament. So as we move into a Dorado map, I'm thinking, certainly going to be seeing some Widowmaker, I would expect, because these guys haven't really liked 303 as much. These two teams really kind of opting away from it if they can. So I think Widowmaker, I'm thinking Hanzo. I'm even thinking maybe possibly Junkrat or Pharah at some point in this map series as well, especially on defense. So I don't know what to expect, but those are the things I'm thinking about.
And that's actually a very interesting point. Having that Junkrat definitely being more favored in the North American scene in contrast to EU. We haven't seen too much of it over there, but here, a definite possibility, and it seems like, at the very least, the teams are ready to go. We are going to move on to Dorado and see whether or not last night's leftovers turning it around could potentially close this one out, or if Grizzly Esports will secure themselves another map win.
Oh, we talked about the Widowmakers, and already they're making an imprint on this game. As track does fall, gets res back up, so the resurrect cooldown is in play. And we see Orissa's on both sides, actually, and not only that, but it's going to be the Hanzo from Spirit, and Sugarfree still on that Genji.
It's interesting to see the swaps this team also did for last night's leftovers, bringing Track in and his Widowmaker instead, especially since Endelayer had a pretty outstanding performance so far, but now looking to continue to push forward. It's going to be Track picking up the kill. Graceful does return, and with a 1 kill of his own, but it's going to be res back up.
They've still just been pushing this payload through. You haven't seen that word contested very much like you do right now. They still continue to push it. Sugarfree does have the blade should he need to pull this out, as the Dragon Strike from Spirit just doesn't get the job done. There's the blade from Sugarfree as he looks to try to secure some kills here. Does find one, in Spirit, after somehow eluding death from the hook that came out from Graceful, as we see him swap over to the D.Va as well. And again, I want to mention and highlight that you don't see a lot of Genji in this meta, and he is the only person right now on fire who has just been popping off this whole time, and also has been quite safe against what hasn't been a very Brigitte-heavy picking team.
And we'll see now if they will eventually go over to it, as they will stick to that double sniper composition. Even with Graceful going over to the D.Va, should at the very least potentially help out Zapper in those sniper deals. But it's going to be Spirit finding that first kill onto Ajax, and as he was able to stay alive overall, is this going to finally go in favor of Grizzlies?
A little bit of a sniper duel. Sugarfree is going to break that one up, but not before he comes away with about 10 HP finally. Should find some heals, but ding! Actually will find that kill instead. And maybe Grizzlies Esports is just kind of being okay with taking some time away, because they're not really being aggressive. They're just allowing some mistakes to occur from last night's leftovers, and they're just punishing them as they come.
And it will be interesting to note how both of these teams will be using their respective ultimates, because Sugarfree dashes in instantly, goes for the deflect, nopes out of that situation. Does have the blade though, and my point that is going to be actually the Dragon Strike, forcing Dogman to use his Transcendence first.
Spirit. Oh, it's going to be Sugarfree possibly being the playmaker here, as he finds two just with the blade starting off. D-Mex Graceful opens up a lot of possibilities for his team now, as LNL surging forward. He should easily be able to take Spirit out as well, as he's kind of low, but they opt to allow him to retreat back. And it may be a situation here where they're going to easily be able to kind of just freely take this second point.
Not quite sure if the coordination wasn't quite there on point, because Dang did fall down with that Transcendence, but no, he doesn't get in on time, and as a result, the second objective now reached by LNL, and with 4 minutes and 46 seconds left on the clock, This is not looking good for Grizzlies.
And what's even worse for them right now is that as they engage, they also lose the fight. So this is just some free time for Last Night's Leftovers to go ahead and push that payload, open the gate. That is also kind of some free time as well. And push past it, start moving this payload through while they have tons of time.
Not only that, they will be building themselves up quite favorably in terms of those ultimate Strack is going to take out his opposition in terms of that Widowmaker, but Sugar Free backs up into the Dragon Strike, will be taken out himself.
Oh, Track! I think he was down scope there because he didn't really see that or react to that self-destruct that came down. Zapri going for a different angle. Sugar Free has still been almost unanswered, but finally we find one as Zapri snipes him out right after the blade comes out as well, and Grizzlies Esports now needs to find these next couple of kills because somehow Last Night's Leftovers have continued to stay in these fights and push this payload forward.
Oh, Graceful in that baby diva form, still taking out Decod in that fight. There was a side to be hauled off onto the side, but overall, at the very least, for Grizzlies, they finally stabilize, finally get some breathing room. We'll have Ding's Transcendence, of course, available. But on the other end, we'll be curious to know Decod will be the only one to really make any adjustments now onto the Winston.
No one can hide.
He's probably going to try to be focusing onto Spirit and Zapri if they can so that they can answer this double sniper that has just been relentless so far. But now as we see Track going around the side, Sugar Free once again on this Genji has been finding answers left and right. Finding kills. Zapri goes down. Ding probably will as well, and does indeed. They find both supports. Last Night's Leftovers once again taking a fight.
And their approach here for Grizzlies seems to be so scattered. Ding with another late Transcendence, really unable to do much outside of just stalling things out for a little bit. But the Dragon Strike will come out. Dogman does find Zapri, who did make the swap over to the Tracer, but the blade is out and ready for Sugar Free, looking to secure this third checkpoint for his team. As we will see Evoke brings back that Tracer, but overall, things are looking very dire right now for the Grizzlies.
A constant threat, and as Decod juggles Spirit away, we do indeed have Last Night's Leftovers finishing the map. And man, what a performance by Sugar Free throughout this. He's gotten blade after blade after blade and has always done well with them. You see him finding 2 to 3 kills almost every single time.
And at this point, it seems like Grizzlies are just crumbling under pressure because their calls just haven't been quite there, or not at the very least to the effect that they managed to have on Lijiang. So they really need to step things up big time when it comes to their attack, because not only did Last Night's Leftovers complete their offensive push, they did it with 2 minutes and 13 seconds to spare.
It's a decent chunk of time to work with if you have to go into post-regulation time, you know, moving forward throughout the map. And I do think, though, that with Grizzlies now attacking, we will see Spirit on the Genji that you see here. Obviously, I don't think we're going to have Evoke on that Doomfist as it suggests right now on your screen. But, you know, having that Genji being brought in, I think this is the most, I mean, I know for a fact that this is the most that we've seen Genji in a matchup so far, you know, well above anything that we've seen. I'm not even sure if we've even seen a Genji so far in Pit, and if we have, it hasn't been for very long. However, now, as we're 20 seconds away from finding out whether or not Last Night's Leftovers, or starting to figure out whether or not Last Night's Leftovers is going to be able to take this one home and finish out our day going 3-1 over Grizzlies, I'm looking at what Grizzlies is going to do to change up, really kind of take it to Last Night's Leftovers and shut them down so that they can push through this map and move us forward into possibly what could be Ilios as a map 5.
And now, once again, Junkrat, just like we've talked previously, something that was in question when it comes to a lot of these North American teams, definitely favoring that particular pick. But right now, Zapri looking to get into a favorable position with those sidelines. Will not quite find any targets as of yet, as they get this core, but it's going to be Sugar Free with a first kill on track with another follow-up.
Sugar Free right now on this Junkrat. I mean, he has been doing work already. I mean, you see Track already at 50%. Kind of quiet approach, though, from Grizzlys Esports so far, as they're going to work their way around more than likely. You see Zapri kind of trying to see if he wants to sneak around or if he wants to just go right up into that window. He's going to go to the sky instead. Won't find the shot he wanted. Sugar Free kind of still shutting down that angle. Again, just very quiet approach, I would say, from Grizzlies so far.
But slowly and surely they're trying to push forward. Sugar Free does manage to find Dinga. It's a key target that denies him time from building up towards that Transcendence. That is all too important. However, the resource in that Resurrect does get brought up. Zapri does manage to find the kill. And finally, we will see things open up, or rather, look favorable for Grizzlies.
Spirit not able to find the kill onto the Mercy. That could turn things here. Dragon Strike available. Once Transcendence follows, you will see that go through, and that indeed does. They do demech next here, and Grizzlies Esports should be able to take this Sugar Free. Perhaps a little late with this Riptire, especially on arrival. As Dogman is somehow turning this around, it's going to be exactly what they need. The tire comes through as well. Has Dogman and Sugar Free somehow done it?
Dogman, the madman, off to the sides, finally gets hooked, but he single-handedly, or rather, okay, with the help of Sugar Free, but let's be real, finding that double kill off to the side by himself was definitely more than enough here for last night's leftovers to get back in line to make sure they do have potential hold here. We'll see. Graceful, however, pull out that whole hawk, push the opposition away. Ding even committing that Transcendence, but oh man.
That's a good trade for them. Self-destruct goes up. Oh! How does he find 3 like that? Next, with a triple kill to end the fight before it even started.
And Dogman at the end with another double kill. Why not? Why not at this point? And 1 minute, 28 seconds left. It's going to be extremely difficult to keep your composure at this point here if you're Grizzlies.
Yeah, they have been halted. They've hit a brick wall here. And they have to be wondering how they didn't get it, you know, the fight before this one. And going into this next one, they have not been trading ults the way that they would like to. Dogman will have his Transcendence here. They don't really have much to offer. They're going to have at least the Dragon Strike, but if Spirit is a little bit... Oh, shut down just as I was talking about him. They should bring him back up, and they do indeed. Again, holding on to that Dragon Strike. However, Sugar Free with the Riptire already finds pay.
But the Dragon Strike does find one in return, so it is a 1-for-1 trade. Zapri, though, finding Track. Again, they need to keep up this momentum, and they might just do that with a double kill coming out of that Widowmaker Spirit. Finds one more. It's going to be a triple for Zapri, and finally, we will see Grizzlies potentially get this payload rolling.
Oh, Zapri has been connecting right now, and they finally get this point in their favor. Sugar Free back onto the Genji, and I imagine it's because he wants to put some pressure onto Zapri specifically, and then possibly some onto Spirit and Ding if he can as well, and if he can find the way in, maybe even that Mercy. So I do like this selection for this in particular, but again, it's just another opportunity to see some more Genji play, and this time it's going to get shut down. Zapri is just too consistent right now.
Especially since he has that Empress side in use for now, at the very least. Will buy quite a bit of distance on that payload for the rest of his team. Sugar Free still scouting it out, does have that deflect timeout, however, will not have it as an option for now. Dogman dropping pretty low, and will get taken out by Ding, and it's gonna be, once again, Grizzlies finding their groove.
They have found absolutely a groove, and Ajax definitely halting that one, trying to sneak one out there, but Grizzlies will push forward, and that payload will come around the corner as well. This time around, Grizzly will have a Transcendence available, and offensively, not much in store for us from last night's leftovers.
This is the type of thing we really need it if you're a Grizzlies fan, because Zapri finds another, definitely a morale boost potentially for them as they get those kills. They get the push rolling next, somehow still gets the self-destruct and the D-suit. So is that going to be enough? As we will see at the very least, the Transcendence force out of Ding. The Resurrect will come through, and the numbers will still be going in favor of the attacking side of Grizzlies.
Yeah, they're just going to try to take some time away if they can. Still contested here as they continue to jump in and pile onto the point. They have found a couple of kills, though, at least for themselves, so no turnaround, but fan this man off, Zapri! Oh my lord, he has been popping off right now on the Widow. I don't know what his streak is right now, but it's got to be into the double digits. And we see right now how this double sniper between Zapri and Spirit just working out for them.
You don't need to rally behind Brigitte when you can rally behind Zapri's insane performance, but this will prompt a change in this side of last night's leftovers. They've been favoring that Brigitte sometimes, but we'll see Sugarfree pop the blade, look for the kills. Now finally looking to get a team fight win, but it is going to be a 1-for-1 so far. However, finally Sugarfree gets 2 more.
Oh, Zapri looking for that kill onto Sugarfree. He'll find it as he backs off. They were forced to at that stage. We almost saw Sugarfree dash through and actually would have been able to probably find all 3 of those kills, but unfortunately got stuck on that pole. So he's going to make a swap now, actually, to the Pharah. And this is obvious. This is right going for an answer because of the swaps being made by the offense. Grizzlies now desperately trying to find this last point.
We'll be moving on to the 3-0-3, and as a result, a lot of spam damage might be coming in from the defense, especially with Sugarfree getting graceful as he did go forth and use that self-destruct. And now with the man disadvantage, we will look to see Grizzlies being pushed back, and only 1 minute and 10 seconds now left on the clock.
They have found these kills, and between the Pharah and the Junkrat, they have been easily able to find the damage that they need. And if you can shut this down one more time here, you might be able to close this out right now, because Grizzlies Esports without ults is, the lethality is just not there as much as it would be if they could finally generate some going forward.
But the problem is the fact that Dogman does have that extra armor he can really give out the rest of his teammates. It's gonna be the self-destruct to open things up here, but Decod finds that first kill, 35 seconds left. Remember here, for the offensive side, but Spirit managing to get 1 in return is going to be potentially the thing they needed. Ding now looking to make sure that this team fight goes in favor of Grizzly Esports, but the Rocket Barrage will come out, trades 1-for-1.
Oh, Decod juggling Zapri on that Brigitte. Now we see the Riptire coming out, looking for some kills. Really puts in some damage onto Spirit and to Pei, and I don't think that they're going to be able to get the healing that they need to be able to hold on as Graceful falls as well. 4 seconds on the clock here, Brunch, and it looks like last night's leftovers have done it.
And with another different look on them too, with subbing in Track into this roster instead of Vanillare, who has performed really well. We've seen how deadly this guy can really be on that Widowmaker, but next, definitely the man to highlight.
And this was such a fantastic play, and you have to wonder how he even managed to get this. It just went right over that Orisa barrier. It was right over it. We're talking about maybe pixels here, where they finally got that angle at the last second, and Nex was able to find those 3 kills that just